On this week's show, load up on piles of rocks, grab your stick figures, and get ready to open that book of shadows, because we're talking Blair Witch 2. I'm Neff Knowles.
I'm Laura Medeiros.
And I'm Megan Swain.
And this is Bad with Numbers. So have any of you guys been camping recently?
Yeah, actually, last summer, which is weird for a pandemic, but when things were starting to get a little bit better, I went camping with my bubble in my friend's backyard. And
Wait, hold up. You went
Yeah.
camping, but it was in a backyard. How big is your friend's backyard?
Yes. Not very. It was only 2 tents.
Okay.
So it was me, my boyfriend, his best friend, and then my 2 girlfriends. So there was a girl's tent and a boy's tent. And my mom recently, because she was moving in, she didn't really have the furniture with her. She bought an inflatable bed. So I was like, oh, okay, so I'll bring one of the beds for Cohen and I, and we'll be comfy. But then once we split up the boys' tent and the girls, then it all went to shit because there were 3 girls. We got the bigger tent, but the boys needed the air mattress.
Okay.
So we tried cramming like a queen-sized air mattress into like a kid's tent.
Nice.
So they couldn't really do up the door, and it was still kind of like almost fall. So the nights are really, really cold.
Mm-hmm.
And I ended up being kicked off the mattress, and I took a blanket and just kind of stuck it on the ground, and that was my bed for the night. And then from there, the neighbors decided to do their roofing project at 6 a.m. that morning. So I didn't get to sleep until 3 or 4, and then I was woken up by roofers. So we were really fucking cranky.
What the fuck were they doing roofing at that time of morning for?
You're not supposed to. And we told my friend, we were like, you can absolutely call the cops because that's a noise complaint. You're not allowed to be working at this time. How dare you? And they're like, no, I don't want to stir things up with the neighbors. I'm like, no, I'm gonna go kick them off the roof.
Yeah, hell yeah. It's not your neighbors. Fuck it. Who cares, right?
Right?
They don't know me.
Exactly.
Yeah, camping, not my thing. Ever.
No, me neither. I'm not big on. I mean, I used to do it at music festivals back in the UK. It was like kind of because it was a necessity, but generally not my preferred mode of fucking sleeping on a rough floor in a fucking canvas tent.
Yeah, I was both a Girl Scout and a Girl Guide and a Boy Scout.
Hell yeah!
I was in a co-ed troupe for years. Years later, I also camped when I went to a folk festival every year.
I think festival camping is acceptable. That's like the acceptable time to go camping. But other than that, hotels exist, right?
Yeah.
I did glamping with yurts, and that didn't suck.
Yeah, I mean, that's fancy for, right? Those are a lot fancier.
I learned the hard way that you have to test your equipment beforehand.
Oh, no.
I didn't learn from my own mistakes. All the festival camping, most of it was by myself, so I would always, every year, without fail, I would forget to test my air mattress, or something like a zipper would snap on my sleeping bag, or I wouldn't bring enough blankets. All my years of scouting was for naught. One year I brought like this little pup tent that was like meant to be a bike tent. I figured out how intensely claustrophobic I am because I set it up ahead of time as like a test run, and I was like, okay, this doesn't seem so bad, but I didn't put all the stuff in it. So when I set it up for realsies, I put the air mattress in there and the sleeping bag, and I went to sleep in it, and I just had a fucking 5-hour anxiety attack because I couldn't, because I felt like I was sleeping in a coffin because like the roof of the tent is like just mere inches from my face, and I'm like, I can't with this. Jesus. So I had to choose between claustrophobia and comfort, because I think I ultimately ended up letting the air out of my air mattress so that I was several inches lower. But oh god, that was brutal.
Yeah, I mean, camping sucks, right?
Yeah.
Speaking of things that suck, welcome to Bad with Numbers, a podcast where we talk about mostly terrible sequels. On this week's show, we are talking about Book of Shadows, Blair Witch 2 from the year 2000, directed by Joe Berlinger. Oh man, I was wrong, so wrong about this movie. I saw this movie in theaters and came out of it and ran and told all of my friends, "Oh, you guys need to see Blair Witch 2. It's so good. It's like it's a complete deconstruction of the first movie, and it's really clever, and it's like such a smart film." No, it's not. It's not any of those things. This film is fucking dog shit.
I remember when I watched it originally, it just felt like bad fan fiction. I mean, I was happy to have another Blair Witch film. That's why I enjoyed watching it. But at the same time, I acknowledged that it did not belong in the canon with the other Blair Witch stories because it's just a hot mess.
Yeah, and I mean, I love that first Blair Witch movie. That movie came out in the UK kind of like quite a while after it had been in theaters in the US and Canada.
Mm-hmm.
I think like you guys got it in the summer of '99. We didn't get it till like late fall '99. And the week before it was in theaters in the UK, I had already picked up the DVD, like an imported DVD, and I was holding off on watching it. And I remember me and my then girlfriend going to like the movie theater with all our friends to go watch it, and it was like really busy. Opening night, you know, the hype on this thing was insane, and we just kind of looked around and went, should we just go back to my place and watch this at home instead, because it might make for a more intense experience? And you know what, we were right. It was fucking terrifying, like watching it just on a TV screen, treating it like it was a documentary.
Well, it is shot in a like a video aspect.
Yeah, it's in
ratio,
like 4:3 aspect.
Yeah, exactly. I did see it in theaters, and it was one of those rare weekends where my parents weren't at home. I don't know where they were. They almost never went anywhere overnight, and for some reason, they picked this weekend. And so when I finished watching that movie, my friends drove me home, and I had to go home to an empty house.
Oh no.
Call. Yeah, that was brutal.
Oh,
I mean, I wasn't super scared, but it did make me very uncomfortable, where I was like, oh, I don't know that I'm going to be able to get over my anxieties about this now that I'm in an empty house.
Yeah, I mean, the ending of that first movie is kind of traumatic. I mean, that still haunts me to this day, right? The final shot of like him standing in the corner, that's like an iconic bit of cinema right there.
Yeah, and he improvised that too, didn't he?
Did he? I didn't know that. Oh, wow.
Because they shot hours and hours and hours of film, so you know the story was in the editing, and the shot of Mike standing in the corner was so haunting that the filmmakers went back and shot a couple of those interview segments at the beginning. Like they did a reshoot where they shot the interview segment where the guy's talking about the Rustin Parr killings and putting the kids in the corner and stuff. Like basically Mike just kind of improvised that moment, and then somebody made up a backstory for it, and then it just kind of entrenched itself in the lore of the movie, which I think is really cool.
Laura, I'm just gonna hedge a guess that you were a little too young to be a part of that whole Blair Witch thing, right?
Yes.
Had you seen it since?
No, I've actually never fully watched the Blair Witch Project, like the original. I mean, it's such a iconic movie though that I have seen, you know, the main bits.
Sure.
So I do understand, you know, just how important it was at the time, but it's just, I don't know. I don't do well with horror just in general. So growing up with that kind of stuff, I just avoided as much as possible. And now I just really wish that I could watch that one instead, because this one, it didn't really do it justice in the way of recapping just how cool it was. Because I mean, when you think about with Ghostbusters 2, they went over how, you know, there was this huge rise and then they're at the fall again. So then they're rising back up, but they just treated the beginning, I swear to God, I thought it was a joke. I thought it was one of those scary movie ripoffs. Like I got the wrong copy somehow. I'm like, this can't be fucking serious.
A little inside baseball behind the podcast. Laura texted us all last night saying, and I quote verbatim, "Is this thing a fucking joke?" And I felt so bad. I was like, I'm afraid not.
I was just so confused. Those first interviews with like everybody. And I was telling Cohen that, oh God, the main guy, Jeffrey?
Yes.
Yeah. I was just like, when they were interviewing him, I swear that that's just like his online persona, where it's just like, yeah, man, I hug them and I'm like, yeah, you feel me. And it's like, yeah, man, I feel you. And I was just, what is that? What is this dialogue? What is being written? Who is this guy? Are you serious?
That's kind of part of the problem with this movie is that unlike the first movie, this movie was entirely scripted, and this script is bad.
Yep. Oh,
it's
yeah.
not good. And I really feel as though that could have helped is the living in the moment because it's supposed to be something. But damn, what a script.
Yeah, we'll get into that. Yeah.
I mean, I find it funny that in the companion documentary, basically the setup is that the movie was a fictionalized version of real events. And there's numerous instances in the companion documentary where people are dunking on the movie for being too broad with the representations of real people. And they're right. The characters are very broad.
Little box office background on this movie. So this movie opened on the 27th of October 2000. It opened second that weekend and it made 13 million. This movie actually topped out at 27 million, which is wild because the original movie made 29 million on its first wide weekend alone. It just shows that people were just so not interested in seeing a second Blair Witch movie by that point. Like, it had become such a pop culture sponge, and it had been so like relentlessly parodied and lampooned everywhere that people were just sick of hearing about the Blair Witch, I think, by that point. Number one at the box office that weekend, and seems to be a recurring theme with a lot of these movies. This one has a couple of sequels that we're probably going to cover at some point. Meet the Parents. I saw that one 3 times in theaters, through mostly by accident. And every time it just got increasingly more painful to sit through.
Oh, no.
I've seen the sequel.
Meet the Fockers.
Meet the Fockers.
It's funny because it sounds like fuckers.
Yeah.
Number 3 at the box office that weekend is a movie I've never seen because it's about American football and who fucking cares. It's called Remember the Titans.
Oh, yeah.
It's a Denzel Washington movie. That was a huge hit as well that year. Never saw it. Number 4, get ready for this, Laura. It's a comedy remake starring our boy Brendan Fraser, Bedazzled.
Yay!
Wait, that was a remake?
Yeah, it's a remake of an old Peter Cook and Dudley Moore movie from the 60s.
Oh, okay.
That movie's okay, right? I haven't seen it since it was in theaters, but I seem to remember that being fine.
I remember it being like middle of the road. It was fine.
I think it's kind of like one of those movies that sort of hangs together as like a bunch of extended sketches than any kind of like, narrative.
Yeah.
Is that the one where What's-Her-Face plays a genie?
Liz Hurley plays the devil.
Oh.
A genie.
Which is close enough, I guess. Number 5 was a movie starring somebody who's definitely not our boy, Kevin Spacey, in Pay It Forward.
Bleh.
Haven't seen it.
I've seen that. I don't remember anything about it. It's got that kid from The Sixth Sense in it, Haley Joel Osment.
Oh, yeah, he was a thing.
I think he dies at the end of it. I mean, spoilers for Pay It Forward, I guess. I just seem to remember thinking that was kind of ironic that after seeing dead people, he is dead people at that point, but not a good movie. So that was the box office that weekend. I mean, I guess Blair Witch 2 was the only sequel, which sort of speaks about the originality of films back then versus when we were doing like Mamma Mia last week and every single movie was a fucking sequel, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
A little background on the actual movie then. So, as we said, first Blair Witch comes out July 99, plays in limited release for a couple of weeks, and then there's like this kind of word of mouth frenzy about it. And also it has an amazing internet campaign. It was like one of the first movies to really utilize the internet to raise awareness.
The website was basically an evidence dossier that had photos of the unearthed tapes and like scans of Heather's journal, like, so it's like a dirtied up notebook and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, the website really like had people believing this was real, right?
Oh yeah, it was fantastic.
So yeah, it opens to 29 million on its first wide weekend. It makes 140 million domestic, and it ends up doing $250 million worldwide. And this thing cost $300,000 to make, so a lot of people got very rich off this film. So obviously, Artisan, the distributor, they want more and they want it sooner rather than later. The original directors, Daniel Myrick and Eduardo Sanchez, they're not keen to do a sequel straight away. They kind of want to focus on making other movies, or at least just kind of wait until some of the hype cools off. But it's Hollywood, so money, right? Mm-hmm. So Artisan get Joe Berlinger on the hook to direct. Berlinger is not like a narrative feature director, but he made an amazing documentary in 1992 called Brother's Keeper. And then he followed it up in 1996 with a movie called Paradise Lost, which is about the case of the three teens that were accused of killing young boys in satanic rituals in the woods in Memphis. I think those guys were like commonly known as the West Memphis Three.
Oh, was this part of the Satanic Panic?
I mean, yeah, it was all part of that whole thing that was going around at the time. So yeah, so like given Joe Berlinger's experience in documentaries, you'd think that he was like a pretty good fit for a documentary style movie, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which is what Blair Witch Project is. Except Berlinger doesn't want to do it as another documentary. He wants to shoot it as like a straight narrative film, and he wants it to examine the hysteria around the first movie. And this film does do that for 5 minutes at the start, and that's kind of it. We get these kind of talking head segments with these supposed residents of Burkittsville, Maryland.
I think they were actual residents of Burkittsville, Maryland.
Oh, really?
Yes. The Burkittsville, there was a person in Burkittsville that had a website in the 90s because of the Blair Witch, because they just kept getting so many fucking phone calls about it that this one person was like, you know what? I'm just going to make this website that will answer people's questions.
Good call.
I imagine the people of Burkittsville were absolutely sick to the back teeth of hearing about the Blair
they were.
Witch,
There
right?
were. They were. They had like some raucous, they had like a town meeting about it, and there was a lot of disagreement because they thought it would bring money. Some people thought that the movie would bring money. Other people just wanted this Blair Witch shit out of their lives forever. Some of the residents ended up being extras in the movie.
Kind of like the Schitt's Creek whole thing.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, because the original movie, they shot the actual sign and they shot the actual cemetery. This resulted in Burkittsville getting their town signs stolen.
Oh yeah, I heard about that. Apparently before they shot this movie, they took the sign down because they knew people were going to fucking steal it. Yeah, so anyway, so Berlinger, the short version of it basically is that Berlinger was eventually forced by Artisan to include more generic elements into the film, like gore, violence, even though like that shit was completely absent from the first movie, right?
Titties.
Oh yeah, I mean there's a lot of titties in this movie. I shouldn't complain, but there's a difference between some well-lit titties and some gratuitous titties, right? And this movie is just stacked to the rafters with gratuitous titties.
Yep.
Basically, everybody fell out on the making of the movie. Nobody could agree what the movie was meant to be. And what we're left with is this fucking disjointed mess of a film.
Yep.
Before we go any further, I just want to point out that Roddy is present on the show this week, but for some reason he seems to just be standing in the corner of his room facing the wall.
He's just been there the whole time.
Really weird, man. I mean, if you don't want to talk about the movie, fair enough, but anyway, let's fucking get into this film and hopefully whiz through it as quickly as we can. This thing starts with a bunch of faux documentary footage that we just talked about, and it's like interspersed with clips of talk show hosts like Conan O'Brien and Jay Leno and fucking Kurt Loder doing MTV News, and they're all like talking about how big the first movie was. I think we get a little Roger Ebert in here as well. This movie kind of like fucking posits the idea that maybe the Blair Witch legend is real, but did people really go out to Burkittsville thinking this was a real documentary? Are people really that fucking dumb?
Yes.
That's disappointing.
I had arguments with people on message boards back when the first movie came out about whether or not it was real. I knew it wasn't real, but there was people that kept phoning their sheriff's office, like obviously not the Burkittsville sheriff, but it was like the county sheriff, kept getting phone calls about these missing teens and just a lot of nonsense, a lot of stupid letters. There was an FAQ on the website.
I think the problem is that when things are quote unquote based off of, real things like with Conjuring and stuff like that.
Sure.
Oh God.
People start going all crazy, even though Annabelle doesn't look like the Raggedy Ann that it's based off of, right?
Yeah, it's based on a Raggedy Ann doll.
I don't know. I just feel like when people really look into things, they just want it to be real so bad that they'll stop looking for the things that prove otherwise.
Yeah, like Ed Gein launched multiple horror franchises with what he did.
Sure, like Texas Chainsaw and everything's based on Ed Gein, right? That Conjuring 2, the one about the Enfield poltergeist in London, I used to live maybe like a 10-minute walk away from where that alleged haunting actually took place.
Yeah.
I never bothered going and checking it out, though. So yeah, we meet Jeffrey Patterson, played by Jeffrey Donovan, and this movie really thinks it's hilarious by naming all of its characters loosely after the actors playing them, right?
Ridiculous. I don't know, like the whole Kim director and Kim Diamond thing.
Yeah, man, why not change it to like her name is Kim Producer or Kim Screenwriter?
Yeah.
I would like that one much better.
Yeah, it just shows a lack of imagination on their part. Yeah, Jeffrey Donovan, he's probably like the only guy to come out of this movie with a career.
Yeah.
He was in Changeling, the Angelina Jolie movie about stolen babies. I'm reliably informed that he was the lead on the show Burn Notice for like 5 seasons.
Oh yeah, that show's awesome.
Really? I never saw it. It has Bruce Campbell in it, right?
Yes. It's about a spy that gets quote unquote burned, which basically means that he's confined to Miami. He's not allowed to go anywhere, and he doesn't know why. He doesn't know what he supposedly did that spawned this, and so he kind of just has to hang out in Miami, and he basically does vigilante / private investigator work for people as like a side hustle.
And they spun 5 seasons out of that?
Yep.
Huh, good for them.
I mean, I watched the first season. I don't know if it got worse or not. I didn't see the whole thing.
He was also in season 2 of that Fargo TV show, which is, that was a good season. I like that season. But most importantly, this guy looks exactly like Butthead from Beavis and Butthead. The Blair Witch, that's cool.
Yeah, I guess, yeah.
Anyway, he plays a guy who's like shilling Blair Witch merchandise, but it also turns out that he spent some time in an asylum prior to this. I mean, the movie doesn't really bother explaining why. We get some gross flashbacks of people like feeding him slop through a tube while he's like zonked out on a table. And one of these doctors looks like Harvey Keitel, which is,
a little bit.
A purpose of nothing, but... and then boom, smash cut to the opening credits, scored by fucking Disposable Teens by Marilyn Manson. Yeah. Oh, we timed this well, didn't we?
We always do.
Yeah, I mean, who was surprised that Marilyn Manson turned out to be a piece of shit?
Yeah, not that surprised. Not based on his music, just based on his general personality.
I was into Marilyn Manson when I was a teenager. I remember me and 2 friends getting tickets to go and see him play like a show in Wolverhampton in the UK, and we were like, oh, what the fuck is this going to be? Like, we'd heard all these crazy rumors about all the shit that went down at Marilyn Manson shows, so we were thinking it was going to be like some fucking Gigi Allen shit show where, like, people were just defecating on each other and whatever. We were just expecting absolute mayhem. So we like even donned like fucking eyeliner and spray dyed our hair like all crazy colors. And we rocked up at the venue, and this was in like May, so it was still light out when we got there, and it was mostly just like fucking dweeby dudes and their disinterested girlfriends.
Oh my god.
And then the show was kind of fairly fucking pedestrian as well.
Oh.
I think he got on stilts at one point and maybe like ripped some pages out of a Bible, but that was kind of the extent of it. So fuck him, and fuck the way he treated people like Evan Rachel Wood as well. Screw that guy.
Yeah.
So it turns out that this Jeffrey fella is holding tours for the Blair Witch fans, where he takes them out into the wood and he, like, I don't know, shows them fucking trees and shit. And it turns out there are like 4 people that have actually paid good money to be a part of this nonsense.
Yep.
What a weird way to introduce the characters too. Is it just me?
No, this is a horrible way to introduce these characters. They're all just like hanging out in his van, right?
2 of them are basically researchers. One of them, the one girl, believes in basically the Blair Witch mythos. The other one is some kind of pedantic asshole who is surprisingly her boyfriend, and he's like a psychology major or something. I don't remember. Another girl is a witch, practicing witch, and then another girl is a goth / amateur psychic.
I mean, you got a lot more from these characters than I did, because all I wrote down was there's a Wiccan, a pregnant lady's boyfriend, and some pseudo-psychic goth whose main character trait appears to be that she likes to lie down a lot.
I like her look when she's laying down, though. Like, I don't know why, but just her makeup looks better.
Yeah.
Like, what is that?
Yeah, that's Kim Director playing. I can't even remember the character's name. I mean, I guess it's Kim, right?
Kim Diamond.
Kim Diamond, sorry, is she was in the Spike Lee movie Inside Man. She played one of the would-be bank robbers in that movie. Apart from that, I don't remember seeing any of these actors in anything else. I think a lot of it was one and done for them.
It
Yeah.
feels like it.
Yeah. I mean, she guesses that the other girl is pregnant.
Oh yeah, and the way she does it is like super rude as well. She's just kind of like, "Oh, your boyfriend doesn't want to keep that, huh?" It's like, damn, why don't you just do the abortion right there, lady? Fucking hell.
Damn.
Because I think she asked and she said she was like 6 weeks, which isn't that.
She's like, how far along are you? And she's like, what? And she's like, how far along? How many weeks?
Like, what if she hadn't known she was pregnant?
Yeah, exactly. You're not meant to tell anybody you're pregnant when you're 6 weeks pregnant.
Well, that's why she's in training still. She doesn't really understand that, you know.
She's a terrible psychic. Her psychic bedside manner fucking sucked.
Yeah.
I have a lot of adventures in Walmart, but there was this one time where my mom and I were shopping, and it was shortly after my grandmother had passed away. And we were in the grocery section, and somebody came like strolling over to us, and they're like, I'm sorry, I need to talk to you. And we just like look at each other, we're like, hi, how are you? And I have a little old lady who will not leave me alone until I tell you that she is okay. And my mom and I just kind of inhale in unison. It's like, okay. And he goes, yeah, you know, she's about yay tall, curly hair, and she has a little white dog beside her. And I look at my mom suspiciously because she had told me that she took my grandmother's dog to a farm.
Oh, that's code for like, she just took it out back and shot it.
She swears up and down that we called the dog Weasel. That Weasel is happy. She was on a farm and she was chasing around chickens, and it was a lovely gay couple that had taken her in, and I call bullshit.
Yeah, that story has a little too much flair to be believable, but okay.
Right? So that was the thing is I look at my mom, I'm like, oh, little white dog, huh? And you know, we had this conversation, and the guy introduced himself and says, yes, I'm a medium. I can speak to those who have crossed over, you know, and then we basically go into the conversation about how she had just passed away. And he said, yeah, I'm trying to do my shopping and I'm trying to, you know, leave you be because that's not fair to you guys. But she's pretty relentless. And, you know, we started laughing and it's, yeah, that's her. She's pretty loud. So we get it. But yeah, it was one of the weirdest things that had happened at Walmart.
I mean, Walmart do a medium service, I believe, nowadays. You can get your tires changed and also contact the spirit world.
They should put that on their advertising, I feel.
Yeah, I think that they're being too discreet about that.
But I mean, he was very polite and apologized and, you know, didn't just come up assuming things. So that is how you communicate with someone, not the way that Kim was doing it. Get good, Kim.
Did he ask you for money?
No.
He's a terrible medium then. Yeah, just side note, Carter Burwell did the score for this movie, which makes me sad inside because he's responsible for my favourite movie score of all time, which is the score to the Coen Brothers movie Miller's Crossing. And it's sad that he's like jostling for space with fucking Marilyn Manson and whatever other shit is clogging up this film's soundtrack. I think I heard a snippet of it at the drive-in, which is cool, but the rest of it's all mostly just like early 2000s fart rock. Also, they're in this van and this Jeffrey guy is talking into a CB radio, but who the fuck is he speaking to? Because everybody that he is addressing is in the van with him. It's not like he's fucking on a megabus or anything. It's only a small van.
It's not like there's a speaker. I think he was just doing it.
He's just vamping.
Just a dramatic effect.
Yeah, to make him seem like he's done tours before, even though he promptly reveals that this is his first tour that he's ever done.
Yeah, I would be asking for my money back at this point.
Yeah. No, I would have just gotten out and be like, nah, I'm good.
Welcome to this tour I've never done before.
They stop off to get beer, and like, no wonder the people of Burkittsville hate these fucking movies, because they are all portrayed like Cletus the slack-jawed yokel in these fucking films. They're just like all standing lollygagging around looking at these outsiders. I mean, I've lived in places like that, but this seems super offensive to those locals in this movie.
Yeah, I mean, I've gone around looking the way that they have. In the US when I was a kid, that was less welcomed. I remember I was in New York with my mom at the time, and I had the big like cargo pants, and I think I almost caused an accident because someone wouldn't stop staring at me, and I was just like, please, it's okay.
They're just pants.
I know my pants are vibrant green and have lots of chains. Please look on the road. Oh my god.
The Kim character goes back to this store later on, and there's like these obnoxious teenagers outside all calling her like Morticia Adams and stuff. But yeah, So they go to the ruins from the first movie, and like at this point I'm already kind of fuzzy on what the reality is here. Like, does all the mythology from the Blair Witch legend like exist in this world? Was the original film just like a documentary to them?
Yeah.
It was? Okay, I didn't really get that.
In the context of the movie, I think it's unclear whether or not the actual Blair Witch Project was fictional, but the Blair Witch mythos itself exists in that universe.
So the problem I have with that is that means that the original Blair Witch movie, if it's a documentary in this reality, it was released theatrically and obviously was a huge hit, but also 3 people die at the end of that film, which means they theatrically released a snuff film.
Well, some people, I can't remember if it was, oh god, this is what I get for watching so many Blair Witch videos back to back, but I think like there are people that think that movie is fake because all they know is that they found some tapes and that all that shit was on it, and some people think it's a hoax and some people think it's real.
Okay.
But the Blair Witch mythos actually exists in their universe, which is why they're at the wreckage of Rustin Parr's house.
Okay, so really quickly, because I feel as though this movie did not do a great thing of it, who is Blair Witch and what is this ruins? I know they're both important, but I don't know what they is.
Okay, so the concept of the Blair Witch is that in the 1800s in Burkittsville, there was a woman named Ellie Kedward who was kind of an outcast, kind of weird, and she was harassed by the children of the town, and the notion is that she killed the kids or tortured the kids and tied them up, like tied their hands together or something. She was then taken by the people of Burkittsville out into the woods, tied to a tree, had weights tied to her arms and legs, and basically left. And then the following spring they go back and her body's gone, and they assume she's like eaten by an animal or whatever. But then the mythology transpires that she may have actually just been a witch and that she's like this evil force that lives in the Burkittsville woods. Rustin Parr was a guy in the 1940s who lived in a house out in the woods, and the kind of mythology is that he was possessed by the Blair Witch and possibly killed more children. I don't know, I'm a little fuzzy on remembering the actual specifics of it.
He said that an old woman was talking in his head and wouldn't leave him alone until he killed all these children.
Right.
He didn't specifically say that it was the Blair Witch, but that seemed to be what everybody else inferred from it. Also, when they first settled, because Blair, what happened was all these kids disappeared. They blamed it on Ellie Kedward. All this other shit was happening that just freaked them out so much that they just pulled up sticks and left. They just abandoned the town, and then 200 years later or something, there was another town founded more or less in the same spot, and then there was this incident where this little girl was in a river. Eileen Treckle, who is named a couple of times in this movie because
she's lying on her grave at the start of the movie, right?
Yes. This is a little girl that they were in the river swimming or washing dishes or some shit. I don't know. Anyways, this little girl slips into the water, and the water's like, I don't know, 10 inches deep. Boom, gets sucked under. Nobody could find her after that. And then there was also a story about some little girl went missing, and then a search party went out looking for her. The search party never came back, so another search party went out. This is kind of mentioned in the first movie. The second search party went out, found the corpses of the first search party all like torn to shit, and then they like, this is Coffin Rock, and then they left to go get help, and when they came back the bodies were gone, and the little girl did go home. They did find her. I don't know, the witch had her or something, but didn't kill her.
And this is kind of the cool thing about that first movie, right? Is that it didn't have a lot of budget, so obviously it was like a super low budget movie, but what it did do exquisitely was build this entire mythology around this story. And I think that's what helped people buy into it, is that the filmmakers really went to town on creating this backstory for this character.
They created an entire fake documentary about the missing teens and about the history of the Blair Witch, and they showed it I guess on the Sci-Fi Channel, and that was one of the things that led to people thinking it was real, because they watched that fucking documentary and so they thought like it was an actual historical documentary.
That noted documentary channel, the Sci-Fi Channel, right?
Exactly. But like that's where they build out all the lore and they create all this context around the first movie, and it's great. It's called the Curse of the Blair Witch.
Yeah, and it was a special feature on the DVD and stuff as well, right?
Oh yeah, it's fantastic.
So I guess that kind of does that answer in any way, shape, or form? I don't know. It's
Thank you.
Like I say, the mythology is actually pretty dense for this. There's a lot of like, so I know we talked about like the idea of having supplementary material on our Matrix episode. There was a lot of it for Blair Witch. Mm-hmm, we're not even touching on like the video games or the books or anything that came along with this.
Yeah, and the kid that survived the Rusted Parr killings went on to go completely cuckoo and ended up institutionalized for most of his life.
And his name was Shia LaBeouf.
I think Jeffrey's background is meant to mimic that somehow. He's not that kid specifically, but
I didn't piece that together at all from this.
I think the intended takeaway is that they were at the same mental hospital or something like that.
So they're sat around a campfire getting all fucked up on weed and booze, and they're like shit talking the original movie, and it is just insanely obnoxious. It is like overhearing a bunch of self-important assholes in a bar. I remember bars.
No, remember ours.
Yeah, our bar especially.
I don't remember them very well. I remember the beginning, and then it gets a little fuzzy after that.
Yeah, that's usually the best way to remember a bar. This rival tour group shows up, and then we get like some amateur improv between the two as they bicker about shit that nobody cares about.
God.
Mm-hmm.
And then we go back to them sitting around the campfire some more because, you know, we hadn't had enough of that already.
They give them bad directions to Coffin Rock or something. Or they infer that they saw something at Coffin Rock, and so these guys go running off into the woods.
There's tiny handprints on the ruins of the house.
And
it doesn't give me like haunted children vibes. It gives me like tiny raccoon handprint vibes instead. And
maybe
I just really love the idea.
I mean, I never understood the handprint thing anyways, because it's like, I mean, did the children, was the killing slow enough that they were walking around with bloody hands? Or did they just do that as a mural to mark the occasion? Because they were like, this is fun. Let's
stop by Toys R Us and get some poster paints. We could decorate the Blair Witch's house.
Cute.
Yeah, so they go back to fucking getting fucked up by this campfire, and we get a blast of feel-good hit of the summer by Queens of the Stone Age because, you know, this movie isn't fucking subtle in the slightest, right?
Yep.
They wake up and it's snowing paper from all these shredded documents of theirs, and they're all like surprised that they blacked out, despite the fact that they were partaking in a lot of drugs and drinking a lot of alcohol.
Yep, it's the crux of this movie, and I don't understand why they're so baffled by this, because they're like, how did we black out like that? And it's like, dude.
I was just thinking, like, I black out like that on the fucking streetcar after a night in Sneakies, right?
I bought something while I was on the streetcar with you, Neth, and I can't remember. Warped Tour tickets. I woke up with a confirmation email.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't remember ever doing that. I remember getting on the streetcar and I woke up home.
I might have goaded you into that one when we were drunk once. I don't know.
That sounds like you.
Yeah, the two academics in presence start freaking out because all their research and original documents have been shredded, and I was like, why were you taking that shit with you into the woods where it could rain? Like you're taking original historical documents with you into the fucking woods. What's wrong with you?
They find their video camera tapes in the same places the original footage from the first movie was meant to be found. I guess that's significant.
Really quickly, like just to jump ahead a little bit, you see them placing the tapes, like whoever it was, placing the tapes in the hole.
Yeah.
So it's just like, wait a second, if all the tapes were in that hole, how did you record yourself doing that? Did you like record yourself and then you dug them up and then you're like, okay, let me put this one in
great.
too. Are you like, really? That's so dumb.
Are you talking about later when they unlock the footage?
Yeah.
Like, really?
I think you found the fatal flaw in this movie.
It reminds me of the YouTubers who like show themselves doing whatever, and then you see them running over to get their tripod, and then they're just like, yeah,
it's like, who's filming you? Yeah.
Then after they find these tapes, the movie starts intercutting with this Burkittsville sheriff who is just this fucking foghorn leghorn sounding guy who's like, I say Jeffrey, you killed those people out in the woods.
Yeah, I don't know why he assumes that Jeff did it. It just seems kind of like he knew that they were out in the woods, and so he just assumes that Jeffrey was the one that killed them. Like, that seems pretty broad.
It's good that he's built an entire case around around this or whatever, and not just pointing a finger,
Yeah.
right? So then the pregnant lady miscarries, very sad, and she's discharged almost immediately. And instead of like going home, what do? They all decamp to Jeffrey's big abandoned fucking warehouse factory.
Yeah.
You know, because that's not like a fucking red flag or anything. And apparently he's some kind of tech hoarder or a thief. And he cracks a joke about eBay because this is 2000 and that was relevant then, I guess.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
And then there's just like a lot of hanging around in this fucking warehouse as they go through all the footage, trying to figure out what happened. We get like occasional flashes of weird shit popping up on the screen, but nobody seems to be particularly shocked or weirded out by any of it, right?
They're just like, yeah, okay. Do you think it's because it was like repressed?
Yeah, maybe. Either that or it's just fucking the footage was all shitty and there wasn't anything worth watching on there anyway. I mean, okay.
What's her face who was pregnant had a dream where she was drowning a baby.
Oh yeah, the plastic baby from Blade showed up. That was crazy.
Yeah.
It had its hand sticking out, and I was like, it's a 6-week-old fetus. I know it's a dream, but Jesus Christ.
This fucking plastic baby seems to be following us around. It's a good job we're not going to be talking about any movies with babies in them anytime soon, otherwise we might see it again. And the acting in this movie is pretty bad, right? That's a fair assessment, yeah?
It's atrocious. It's really sad too.
Yeah, there's like some really weird line deliveries. I don't know if that's just down to the script or if it is just a combination of them being terrible actors and it being a terrible script.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I do feel kind of bad for them because they're just spewing out like the worst kind of generic horror movie dialogue for a lot of this. And again, it goes back to what we were saying, like the original movie was just largely improvised, right? It was, the idea was we're going to ditch 3 people in the woods and tell them they're in a horror movie and let them fucking figure it out as actors and improvisers.
Do you think that when they realized that the script was bad, they were like, I know, we'll let them free reign for a bit. And then we got those and they were like, oh, let's go back to the script. Oh boy.
Yeah, I mean, there isn't really, like I said, there was like some bad improv in that scene where the other tour group show up. I just kind of feel like that was maybe their one shot at showing some fucking improvisational skill and they blew it because they're all talking about like cutting each other's balls off or something. I don't know.
Yeah, it was something weird about how like Jeffrey would say something and then Erica would just like say it more intensely.
Yeah.
I'm like, you're not adding anything here.
Yeah, there's not a lot of yes anding going on in that scene. It's
no.
I don't know. I kind of like I say, nobody from this movie other than Jeffrey Donovan really kind of did anything worth a shit. So
I mean, the Jeff character kind of feels like he's trying to prove he's not crazy, but he's not. He's doing the exact opposite of that.
Yeah, I guess.
He's trying to prove that he's not crazy. Witch lady is trying to prove that witches aren't evil. Goth girl is just there because she liked the movie. Other lady whose name I can't remember wants to prove that the witch was real, and her boyfriend wants to prove that it wasn't.
Yeah, Tristine and Ryan. Or
Steven.
Steven. Oh, what a pile of joy Steven is.
Oh man, this guy has no fucking charisma.
He's such a pedantic fuck. I'm like, why are they together? This seems like a dysfunctional relationship.
Well, we get this scene in the warehouse where he starts like getting it on with the Wiccan lady, right?
Yeah, that was so weird.
Like literally minutes after his girlfriend has miscarried, he's like getting hot and heavy with the Wiccan girl.
He has some kind of shared hallucination or not hallucination with the Wiccan lady. And it's clear that they both experience the same thing. Yeah. And then it just cuts to them sitting there and they're like, I'm gonna go now.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the movie's trying to imply that she might be the Blair Witch, right? Although there's not been any mention of the Blair Witch ever being like horny. So I'm not sure where that comes from.
Well, it definitely more than implies that what's-her-face, who was pregnant, was becoming possessed.
No, I'm not talking about her. I'm talking about it's trying to imply that the Wiccan girl is maybe the Blair Witch.
Erica.
Early on.
I don't know. No, early on, I guess it's trying to pin it all on her.
Yeah, they start finding all these markings on their bodies. What did they do? Go on a date with Armie Hammer? And they spout some nonsense about meaning that it means you've been touched by a witch if you have these markings. So, like, this Kim character does the only logical thing and fucks off to the grocery store to buy beer, right?
Yeah.
Which is where we were talking about this earlier, where she meets
Yeah.
these punk ass kid characters and they're all like calling her names and she has like absolutely zero comeback to them. Like, one of them says something about his dick and she's like, why don't you get it out then? I'm just like, oh, is that it?
And then she just walks away without asking
I don't
waiting for an
know.
answer.
I kind of liked that where like she called him on his bluff. She's like, fine, whip it out. And then
I guess.
I don't know. Like, I don't know. I thought that show was kind of cool.
These are teenage boys, lady. Don't ask them to whip their dicks
Yeah,
out.
that's the other thing. She kept walking after she said it, and I was like, I mean, it seems a little lame that you kept walking, but on the other hand, I think there's a distinct possibility that he'll just whip it out.
He'll actually do it. But I think my problem is that she was my favorite character out of the bunch. Because she was a little bit level-headed, but still believed in it. So, I don't know. It was hard because she wasn't entirely psycho. Like the rest of them were giving me those vibes, but she was like...
He asks her, what are you doing here? And she literally replies with, I thought the movie was cool, which I guess is her character motivation. So she goes off to buy the beers and she gets like all aggro with the store clerk for some reason. We find out later that she actually fucking straight up murders this store clerk with a nail file, which is
amazing.
Kind of rad.
I mean, like that whole when the store clerk pulled the I am the manager, I kind of like straightened up a little bit. Ooh, get her.
Yeah, well, I mean, she was ignoring her and refused to sell her beer, which seems a little weird.
I mean, it introduces a little bit of conflict into this movie, which we haven't actually fucking really had any of. And then she like stacks the van because there's a bunch of like Victorian ghost children hanging around in the street. So she just straight up writes this van into a fucking tree.
Yeah, I don't know.
weren't some assholes following her, or she saw some rednecks in her rear view?
There's a teen.
Yeah, the kids like huck a rock through the back window of the van.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Seems a little extreme, but okay, teenagers, whatever. We go back to the warehouse and the Wiccan lady is like going bug nuts crazy.
Oh yeah.
Nobody seems particularly bothered about the fact that she's having a shit fit in there.
Yeah.
It's because she they did the backwards thing. They said, "Okay, watch the tape." Oh no, they hadn't done that, but they saw her tit at that point. And then she's like, "What?
Oh, that's right.
You must have edited this."
They got a couple of frames of her dancing around the tiny version of the tree.
Yeah,
in the wreckage of the cabin, but she's going backwards, the backwards way around.
Yeah.
This Jeffrey guy is just sat in front of these TV monitors, and I guarantee you, he's just like, boobs.
Yeah.
They fucking wake up the next morning, and the Wiccan lady has just like, sorry, I keep calling her that. Her name's Erica, but who fucking cares?
It doesn't matter.
She's like straight up disappeared and left her clothes in like a perfect body shape on the floor. Like this is the fucking leftovers or something. It's crazy.
Yeah, so good.
Then the cop, Foghorn Leghorn cop, calls up to let them know that the tourists have been found murdered. And he's all like, I said they were disemboweled, Jeffrey. That's not how cops work. Go and fucking arrest this guy. Go get a warrant. Don't just call him up and say, "Oh, you done a crime." It's so dumb.
We also didn't point out that the girl who was pregnant just drank herself into a stupor like everybody else.
Oh yeah, that's a good point. She's like,
her boyfriend was like,
pounding beers at that campfire.
Her boyfriend is like, "Are you sure you don't want to maybe lay off that stuff a little bit?" Yeah. Oh yeah, and there's a fucking owl.
Oh yeah, the owl.
Oh, the owl.
So,
the fucking robo owl.
Earlier they see this fucking animatronic owl, and it's the best character in the fucking movie. They see it up in a tree. Nobody really comments on it. It's kind of weird.
The most personality.
Yeah, definitely. And then this owl just like yeets itself through the fucking window.
Yes.
And it's dead. And I'm like, oh, well, there goes like the only reason to be watching this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
At this point, it kind of turns into like this fucking boring Agatha Christie style finger pointing exercise.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then the Wiccan lady turns up again outside and she's got her top off.
Yeah.
And she's dancing around a tree in a scene that is like a blatant steal from Evil Dead. And I'm just like, oh, I wish I was fucking watching Evil Dead.
And then there's some shit about Eileen Treckle because I keep seeing the little girl.
Oh yeah, she's walking backwards. I thought that was, I don't know, the first time it almost got me.
Oh, when she's in the hospital?
Yeah.
Oh, she said, you brought it back with you or something like that. The little girl says, you brought it back with you.
But yeah, the hospital got me, and then the, like, strip where she's running backwards.
Somebody said that they dreamt about being surrounded by children and then closing their eyes and spinning in a circle, and then the children die or something. And I don't know. I wrote, she dreamt she was Anakin Skywalker. I was like, oh, you dreamt you were murdering the younglings?
Somebody fucking orders 66 to that shit. Yeah, the fucking not pregnant anymore lady starts going nuts. She's like you say, she's imagining that she's Ellie Kedward. She starts like spinning on the bed. She's like doing circles on the bed, and I'm kind of like, oh, that looks fun. I want to have a go at doing that. It's fucking hilarious for all the wrong reasons. And this film is so fucking low energy, right? It's like about as far removed from scary as scary movies can get. It's like, it's not making any effort to try and be creepy or eerie.
Yeah, it was one of those things where I tried to watch it last night at like midnight so that I was like, I'm going to give this the best shot that I have. And then the audios kept fucking up where the music was really, really loud, but then the talking was super quiet. And then I realized that it wasn't going to scare me regardless. So I'm like, oh, I'm just going to fucking give up on this for now.
Well, it's not really a scary movie.
No.
It's just
Well, I mean, it should be because it's a fucking horror movie, right? You
yeah,
know?
it's just a weird, dumb movie.
They find the Wiccan lady's naked body in a closet.
Oh, yeah, I wrote Sexy Corpse of Erica.
Yeah.
Because they went out of their way to make her corpse good looking and naked. And I was like, that's a little morbid, but okay.
She's got some interesting placement of tattoos.
Does she?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
She's got some quote-unquote tramp stamps. One is of the pentagram, I think, and then I think there's
90s.
like a bat wing, like a bat just right above her tail bone, and I'm just like...
Is she Batman? Is she actually Batman?
Might be Batman. Ooh, where is she?
Oh, we forgot to mention that when What's-Her-Face was at the store, there was some lady with an entire shopping cart full of yogurt.
I mean,
for no fucking reason.
Gotta get
the
that
old
dairy.
lady that's like, we don't want your kind here, and it's like, what kind? People that don't buy shopping carts full of yogurt.
I like the idea that if Kem showed up with like the other cart full of yogurt, the lady would have just like nodded and understood she was defeated and walked away.
She's just got a single barcode that scans, and it's like literally cart full of yogurt.
Yeah.
She's trying to get air miles.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe this is like, I don't know if you guys ever saw Punch Drunk Love, but maybe this is like some kind of scenario where there's redeemable coupons on the yogurt, and if she collects enough, she'll get like free flights for the rest of her life.
Yeah, that was an actual guy that did that.
Yeah,
with
sure.
the pudding.
Yeah, that's right. And it's a subplot of the movie Punch Drunk Love, which is...
Oh, is it? Oh, okay.
A fucking great movie.
I didn't
love
know
that
that.
film. Anyway, yeah, so they find her body, and they review the footage of that they found, and they see the not pregnant lady. Is it Tristine is her name? I don't know.
Yes.
Yep.
She was the one that apparently killed all of these tourists, shown on the footage.
Because somebody suggests that they need to run the tape backwards, and Jeffrey's like, that's called rewinding.
Oh man, thanks fucking Statey McObvious.
And they're like, no, do the key commands backwards.
I thought that she was like the ringmaster and sent them to go kill everybody.
Well, I think that's what's implied later on, but basically Jeff, the boyfriend, and the goth psychic all accuse her of being the Blair Witch. And then she kind of goes nuts and like ties a rope around her neck, and she's like chatting.
You're all gonna fucking die now.
Yeah, she's chatting shit at them, telling them they're gonna die. So then the boyfriend accidentally, and for podcast listeners, I am air quoting accidentally, pushes her off a ledge, and oops, now she's dead.
Yep.
Solid neck snap sound effect here, in fairness. Credit to the Foley artists of this film.
I don't know. I still feel as though the best like snap effect I've ever heard was Amazing Spider-Man 2 with Gwen Stacy.
Oh god, that's brutal, right?
Yeah, that one's a nasty one.
I think there's one in one of those Pirates of the Caribbean movies as well at the start where they're like hanging pirates, and that neck snap is not befitting of a PG-13 Disney movie.
I want to say it's the second one, because that's the one where he escapes in a coffin, right?
Possibly. Don't know.
Yeah.
Don't care.
Fair.
Fuck those films.
It's been a while. Yeah. It's been a while since I've...
Yeah. We might be getting to them yet.
Sure, why not?
Our timing continues.
Sure. Oh god, yeah. Fuck that guy. Yeah, we see what really happened at the campsite, and it turns out it's Jeff, Steven, and the goth girl murdering these poor fucking tourists in like some kind of naked orgy of student film violence.
They chewed up their own notes and also chewed up their own equipment, I'm assuming, since at the beginning of the movie they're like, these were bitten off, and it's like the camera attachments.
Fucking idiots.
I don't think they showed that in the video. I was like, really? Okay. Who was it that bit the camera parts then? Oh yeah, Kim cuts off a dude's dick, apparently.
Oh,
yeah.
really? What? Wait, what?
I wrote that.
Yeah, that was like later on, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, like you get to see there's a close up.
It's in my notes.
How did I miss that?
Right after the note that says "God, I'm bored."
Yeah, in fairness, I fucking tapped out at this point. I just didn't care. But I can't believe I missed a castration. What the fuck?
There's like a castration moment somewhere. I think when it might have been when they were showing Kim.
Oh, my last I stopped very early taking notes. My last note is: do you think they played Monster Trucks by the fire? Because that would.
Oh man,
they might have.
Okay, so for listeners, Monster Trucks is a game that we have been, as a bunch of fully grown adults, by the way, it is a game that we've been known to play when drunk that basically involves us pretending to be monster trucks and then pushing each other over until there is one monster truck left standing.
Yeah.
Don't judge us. Don't judge us too harshly by our actions. We're a bunch of alcoholic writers, okay?
Safely, if you are of age and you can do so safely, try it at home when you have a night, Sometimes you just need to be a monster truck, and sometimes you need to barrel over your friends in a good environment.
It can be a liberating experience.
I think the best part of that was Roddy was out of the room when this got suggested, so he was in the bathroom or something, and then he walks in the room and there's just a bunch of people on the floor. And he's like,
Just to frame this even better, this took place in a hotel room in Niagara Falls when we were all absolutely fucking wrecked.
At like 2 a.m. or some shit.
You have to really kind of gauge to yourself,
Yeah.
When you're introducing this game to a bunch of people, are they drunk enough yet? And I think we got there when Neth and one of our classmates pretended to switch heads.
Yes, that's right.
We all had to leave the room, and we came back, and you were trying to trick us to see who was who.
Yeah, I remember that. We were hiding behind a bed. Oh, God.
Oh, yeah.
And you had the bags on your head, and we had to decide who was who.
That was fucking weird.
Pretty sure I still have the picture of that on my phone, and a lot of people wonder why I have that. And I have to, preface, no, everyone's safe.
Let's maybe not put that on the social media for this episode.
No.
I remember at like 3 a.m, you guys we all texted Alex at the same time.
Oh yeah, former guest Alex. We all texted him the words "you up" in a suggestive manner at 2 a.m. in the morning.
On a trip that he wasn't there for.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
We're terrible people.
Yeah.
We should drink less.
My last note on this movie was Jeffrey Donovan's bare booty. Woo woo.
Oh, that's right.
Oh,
Wait, is it his? I thought it was Steven that we saw moving the body. I didn't realize it was Jeffrey Donovan. Okay.
No, it was Jeffrey. He's the one because he's naked, and then he puts naked dead Erica in the closet.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I was kind of like looking to see if there was some dong in this scene. There wasn't, But I can't believe I missed a dick get cut off. Fucking hell! I feel like I've been cheated by this film.
It was kind of alluded to ish. It showed it, but it didn't really show it because this movie isn't.
Yeah, you just kind of see the knife and then the blood.
What was this movie rated?
PG.
Was it really PG?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, okay.
It was rated
I was gonna say rated R. Yeah.
I mean, if you're gonna rate it R, just go for the full on dick slicing.
Yeah, sure, why not?
Have it like right there.
Yeah, so they get apprehended by the police, and then the movie ends with them being interrogated. And did anybody else notice that Goth Kim has suddenly got blue streaks in her hair?
Yeah.
Did she like dye them in her jail cell while she was waiting to be interviewed or something?
Maybe.
It was probably a reshoot, and then they were just too lazy to look at the actual footage. But I have blue streaks on my hair. Who cares? Sit down and do the scene.
Yeah, we don't have time. We're on a deadline.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because they went back and changed a bunch of shit, right? It wasn't the original cut that the producer or director or whatever wanted.
No, and then the movie probably ends with them all getting the electric chair, right?
Oh yeah, because they alluded to that.
Yeah, there's like a jump scare where we see the Jeffrey character in what looks like an electric chair. I don't know. It kind of seems like the Blair Witch took the long way around to achieve what she achieved in like 30 minutes in the first film of just killing a bunch of dipshit campers, right?
Yeah.
Like it feels like this was the protracted route to take. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's supposed to go back to the treatment of Ellie Kedward, but like they don't really go into that history that much. And it's not like Erica gets shat on a lot. It just, I don't know. There's nothing really holding it together.
Yeah, what was that bit where they tried to call Erica's parents and then they were like, we didn't actually have parents? Or like they weren't, yeah, they weren't her parents and they're like, no, we don't have children, or they don't have children.
I guess they were just trying to imply that she was not what she said she was, or she was maybe meant to be the Blair Witch, but again,
she was wiped out. Like,
this movie's so fucking vague about all of this shit that it doesn't really contribute anything to the mythology of the series.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't tell us anything new.
I don't know, and also I appreciate the fact that they were trying to like make a movie about the phenomenon of the original movie, but
that's a great idea.
They ham-fist it so badly in this film that it just feels so obnoxious and tough to sit through, really, because it's like it's not done in a kind of wink kind of way if they were kind of lampooning all of that stuff, but at the same time they're not like properly treating it with any kind of reverence. I don't know, it's
Yeah, it would have made more sense if they remembered murdering people when they didn't than them remembering not murdering people when they did. And like just that whole thing. And, you know, and I know it's a reversal of like, because they filmed everything, but the tapes are contradicting their experience. And that is interesting, but the way that it's done is pretty ham-fisted. And it's like, well, I mean, the cops aren't going to believe you because they have tapes.
Yeah.
So tough shit. I guess. Blair Witch won by altering your tapes. This is turned into a Ring situation, I guess. You know, where the witch is also haunting their tapes and I don't know, something. Their footage.
I had the weirdest thing happen at work the other day where somebody dropped off a CD. He's an older gentleman, and he said, the other girl with glasses, she'll know this when she sees this. And my coworker and I were just looking at each other and we're just like, what the hell is this? So I found out today that the girl that we thought he was talking about has no idea what any of it means, and it just has Hockey Todd B-Day 1992 written on it.
What?
And she said, she's like, no, I was born in 97. This is a whole 5 years before I was born. I don't know a Todd. I don't know who this is.
What the fuck? What did you actually check what was on the CD?
I'm scared though. What if it is Hockey Todd and, you know, I'll get a phone call later and it's like, you have 7 days, you know, before I come see you, and then I get body checked by Hockey Todd. Like, I don't want to deal with that.
And also, who has a fucking CD player in 2021, right?
It's
like...
true. Yeah, I would have to pop it into like my PlayStation or something like that, and then maybe that would be Sony's problem.
Oh man, it could be like a haunted game on there or something.
Yeah, right? Oh my god.
That's amazing.
Maybe don't play hockey.
Oh, I think... Sorry, Megan, can you still see Neth?
No, I can't. I think his screen is frozen.
Neth. Hello.
I seem to have lost Neth. What the hell's that?
I think he left his phone on.
Should we answer it? I mean...
Hello?
Hello! It's me, the Blair Witch. I thought I'd call into your podcast because I heard you were talking about my show.
Oh, how lovely.
I didn't even know we had that option. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I am a witch after all.
We're really moving on up. How are you?
I'm very good. How are you? Did you enjoy my movie Blair Witch 2 Book of Shadows?
We're not going to talk about that. What were you doing when all of this was filmed? Because I didn't see you in it so much.
Well, I had a more substantial role in the movie, but unfortunately they cut out my performance.
Oh, well, that's why I didn't enjoy it then.
Well, it's very kind of you to say so. I mean, I was in that first movie, and it was such a big hit that I thought my career was going to take off.
Mm-hmm.
Did you?
I mean, I went to the Oscars that year, I sat behind Kevin Spacey, and I said to him, "Oh, Kevin, you've just won for American Beauty. There's nothing but good things ahead for you in your future. I can't see there ever being a problem."
You called it, that's for sure.
Yeah, oh yeah. Did you enjoy your fame?
Well, I certainly enjoyed the fame that I had off the back of that first film, because I worked fairly consistently for a good few years in Hollywood. I had a recurring role on Malcolm in the Middle, where I played the youngest son's girlfriend.
But, what have you been up to? Because, I mean, Malcolm in the Middle, that's been over for a little bit. What have you been up to in the past little bit?
Well, the work kind of dried up around the mid-2000s, and I ended up working in Costco for quite a while. They wouldn't let me in the front of the store, but I had a great time working in the back, moving plasma televisions with my mind.
That's where all the magic happens.
It truly is, and Costco is a magical place to shop, after all.
How about any kind of, pastimes? Do you have any hobbies nowadays?
Well, as you know, I'm very big on arts and crafts. That's why I make those delightful little stick figures. You can buy them on my Etsy store.
Do you have anything else you'd like to plug?
No, but I would like to talk maybe a little bit about that 2016 Blair Witch movie. You know that they didn't even ask me to reprise the role?
Oh.
You mean you weren't that gangly thing that they kept showing in the house?
No! I wasn't! How terrible! Do you know who they actually ended up casting in that film?
Who would it be?
They gave the role to Skyler Johansson, and I said at the time, she's not even a witch. But she just said, well, I can play a witch if I want.
She's used that excuse on other people, so don't take it too personally.
Disgraceful!
She shouldn't be playing an incorporeal being when she is herself a corporeal being.
Exactly! I filed a complaint to the Screen Actors Guild.
It's fucking speciesist.
They wouldn't listen to me. So anyway, in the meantime, I've been working on my rap album.
Oh, wonderful. Do you have a title for that yet?
I haven't thought of one. I'm sorry. We're not that far down the development line. I've only got 30 seconds of a song. Would you like to hear it?
Please.
Sure.
Well, here it is now. In Northwest Maryland, born and raised in the woodland is where I spend most of my days. Freaking out, scratching, relaxing, all cool, and killing some kiddies down by the pool. When a trio of kids, they were up to no good, started making movies in my neighborhood. I gave them one little fright and they all got scared and said, hey, what's that big pile of rocks right there?
Wow, fantastic.
Wow, that was some sick beats.
Thank you. I'm hoping to put it out via Kanye's record label. Now that he's got all that divorce money from Kim Kardashian, after all. She looks a bit like me, by the way. Well, anyway, it's been fun calling in. I just thought I'd stop by and say hello.
Well, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure having you here. Please do not curse me. And take all your stuff with you, okay?
Too late! There's a pile of rocks at the bottom of your bed! Goodbye!
This is why we don't have guests anymore. They always win at the end of this.
Sorry guys, I had to let the dog out. Did anything happen while I was away?
I tripped over a pile of rocks.
Yeah, shit's stupid.
That's pretty spooky. Coupled with the fact that Roddy is still stood in the corner and has been for the entirety of this episode.
God damn it, Roddy.
I really have an idea that Kanye is gonna drop some sick beats in the next couple of years, though.
I can't wait. I hope he signs some major talent to his record label.
I think his label's really going to take off.
All right, Blair Witch, Book of Shadows. Would you guys recommend this movie?
No.
Okay.
Sorry,
I mean, the original Blair Witch project, initiated my lifelong love of found footage films, and there are so many good found footage films that you could watch that are better spiritual successors to the Blair Witch Project than Book of Shadow.
Paranormal Activity is one that springs to mind straight away,
Yeah.
right? That was a film directly influenced by that original movie.
Paranormal Activity, As Above, So Below, is narratively goofy but visually spectacular because
That's an underrated film.
Yeah, because it's filmed in the actual catacombs under Paris, and it's just it's creepy as hell.
Laura, it's a no from you as well.
I guess my thing is that it doesn't add anything, and there's no real charm to it. Because, like, Ginger Snaps. I love that movie, and the way that it flows is fun, and it's, a little bit campy, but it's still, it still has that own factor that I will always recommend that, because it's fresh and it's fun. But this literally adds nothing to the franchise. It's not fun to watch. I went into it thinking it was a joke after, like, literally 6 minutes of watching that thing. So it's not even fun. Like, okay, either watch a good, like, horror film or watch something campy like Scary Movie or whatever if you want comedy, right? It doesn't fall into a category that I could go out and say, yeah, you know what you should watch because you're feeling this way? Blair Witch 2.
Yeah, I kind of feel the same. I would not recommend this movie, even though I have done to people in the past, and I can but apologize to those people.
That's okay. I thought that Lollipop Chainsaw was going to be a fantastic game, so I still love it, but don't play that. Don't worry about that.
What I would say instead is watch that 2016 Blair Witch movie, the Adam Wingard movie. Kind of definitely more in keeping with the tone of the original film. Mm-hmm. Has some fairly decent scares. Mm-hmm. Kind of makes an effort to try and expand the mythology behind these movies a little more. Adam Wingard. I kind of like his movies. I think it's literally been announced today that he's directing a remake of Face Off, which I'm not entirely sure we need, but I guess we'll see how that goes. But
sure, go for it.
Look, that original I watched that original Face Off not that long ago, and it ain't that fucking great. It has some great like OTT performances and a couple of decent scenes of action, but holy hell, that movie is long. Mm-hmm. Adam Wingard also made The Guest, which is one of my favorite fucking movies. That film rules. So I'm excited to see what he does with that. But yeah, no, that 2016 Blair Witch movie is okay. It's a damn sight better than this fucking shit show. Mm-hmm. Anyway, moving on. Next week on the show, it's baby talk time, baby, because we are talking about Look Who's Talking To.
I haven't seen those movies in years.
I watched the first one this weekend in prep for this. It's a 90-minute sitcom pilot with like 3 good jokes. Does not bode well for the sequel.
Well, there was a sitcom that used this exact.
Oh yeah, Baby Talk. That's right. Yeah,
it was called Baby Talk. I used to watch it on TV. It is exactly as lame as you would expect, except for that one episode where the baby is talking to a baby that is still in a woman's uterus.
What?
Huh?
We might have to get into this on the show next week. You can find us on Twitter at badnumberspod. You can email us at bwnpod@gmail.com. But until then, we have been Bad with Numbers from Toronto, Canada. Take care. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.
What's that like the taste of butter? A pretty dress. What's that like to live deliciously, 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 deliciously?